Well, I think like a lot of the time in school, like it can kind of be like knowledge is just kind of going into you and you're not actually learning. But I felt like this course was like the first time I was like truly learning in high school. I don't know, it was like a different feeling.
We learned something called the medicine wheel, and it was like divided into like an emotional quadrant, mental, physical, and spiritual. And it was the one course in which all four of those quadrants were met. And so I found that information was ingrained in my head a lot quicker because of that, because I was feeling things emotionally, not just learning things mentally like through a textbook.
It's really different than taking an English course I've taken in the past, because you're still learning how to properly write an essay and structure all your paragraphs, but you're learning it with culture attached to it. So I think that makes it so much more exciting, and you're willing, because you're writing about something you can connect to and that you've been building on.
One of the most important things is breaking down the stereotypes and sort of truth and reconciliation. Learning the truth, I think, was the biggest part of the course that changed me and what I thought about First Peoples.
We had like these cultural presenters come in, and then this one in particular, her name was Jessica, and she made us stand up and kind of like have our bodies form these different societal structures, and that was super like prominent, because I think I've never actually been in a class where physically we have to get up and use our bodies to picture like a bigger scheme.
I've always known that I had some Maori blood in me, but I didn't really know what it meant. I had some traditional Maori carvings and stuff on my walls in my bedroom, but I never actually knew the meaning behind it until we watched Whale Rider in class, and I learned all about where that comes from, who the Maori people are, and it was really cool to learn that I have a connection to that through my grandmother.
We learned about the First Nations culture, the culture from the Indigenous people, and that was incorporated to the regular English classes, and it was really good because we learned the language part of it, but then we also had the cultural part, and because we read so many books and we heard so many stories and we watched movies, so then it becomes easier to connect to the essay questions. And
I think that in traditional English 12, you don't get exposed to as many different cultural styles of reading and writing as you do in English First Peoples.
You felt like passionate about what you were learning, like there was a deeper like motive to understand it more, rather than just taking in the facts and like taking them for face value. You wanted to explore them further.
And just having the knowledge overall, when I have a conversation with people now about First Nations, I have educated opinions to give to the conversation.
so when I lived in Germany, we went to a concentration camp because it was part of our curriculum, right? And then here, our teacher took us to the residential school, and it was, when I went there, I could see so many similarities. And I remembered going to the concentration camp, and I'm like, that is so similar, because what they did to the small kids, that's almost like they did to the people back then in the World War.
This course inspired me to do something through my art. Emily and I decided to do a project together in our class when it was the National Awareness Day for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. Our teacher showed us a video about an artist named Jamie Black who did a project called the Red Dress Project to raise awareness for the missing and murdered Indigenous women. So we decided to do a collaborative project that had dance, photo, and film to use our platform as artists to raise awareness for the issue as well.
So we like worked together to create a response to Jamie's project. So we photographed a single red dress hanging in different locations, and we filmed Annika's choreography with dancers in the forest and contrasted like the nature versus the like ever-growing city.
In our history and what has happened to Indigenous people, truth and reconciliation and like requires not just Indigenous people, obviously, to know what's going on, but everyone in the country.
I'm so glad I took the course because I learned so much about the culture and the traditions of Canada, and I would have never learned about that otherwise.